GPT-4o Omni. One model, every modality in real time. Agenda: multimodal system design. Omni model history. Why Omni matters. Real-time response lifecycle. Getting started. Basic workflow. Latency and modalities. Multimodal system design. Handling voice, text, and images in one assistant can be built either as several specialized models chained together or as a single model that understands everything directly. If audio has to be transcribed to text before an assistant can understand it, everything about how something was said gets lost along the way. Almost every voice assistant historically stitched together separate speech recognition, language understanding, and speech synthesis systems. Any assistant meant to feel genuinely conversational benefits from processing the original input directly, rather than through several translation steps. Chaining together three separate models just to have a spoken conversation doesn't scale to real-time, natural interaction. Pipelined systems and end-to-end Omni models. A pipelined multimodal system joins together separate specialized models, one to transcribe audio, one to generate a text response, one to synthesize speech. GPT-4o instead is trained end-to-end across text, vision, and audio. So, a single neural network processes every input and produces every output directly. Pipelined, earlier ChatGPT voice board, three chained models, 2.8, 5.4 latency, seconds latency, end-to-end Omni, GPT-4o, one unified network, around 320 millisecond latency. Problems with pipelined voice systems. Single point of information loss. Transcribing audio to text strips out tone, emotion, and background context before the main model ever sees it. The core model can't tell who's speaking, how many speakers there are, or what's happening in the background. A separate text-to-speech step can't reproduce nouns the core model never had access to, like laughter or excitement. Training three separate models together adds noticeable latency at every handoff. Earlier pipelines averaged multiple seconds of delay, well outside how quickly people naturally respond in conversation. Misses out on genuinely natural interaction, since users can't easily interrupt or redirect a slow multi-step pipeline. The Omni system. A single neural network accepts any combination of text, audio, image, and video as input. That same network generates any combination of text, audio, and image as output without routing through separate specialized models. Because input and output audio are handled directly by the core model, response latency drops close to typical human conversational response time. Related capabilities across the Omni model family: real-time voice conversation, live vision understanding through camera or screen sharing, structured outputs for developer-facing integrations. Omni advantages: response to audio input in roughly 320 milliseconds, on average comparable to natural human conversation. Understands tone, multiple speakers, and background sound directly without losing that information to transcription. Can generate expressive speech output, including emotion, singing, and different vocal styles. Supports real-time interruption, letting a conversation feel more natural and less rigid. Handles text, vision, and audio within one unified model, simplifying what would otherwise be separate systems. Matches or improves on prior model performance while running faster and more cost effectively. Everything flows through one network end to end. One huge benefit of this design is that in GPT-4o, almost every input and output flows through the exact same neural network from start to finish. There is no separate transcription model quietly discarding information before the real model ever processes a request. Because everything happens within one network, the model can preserve and reason about details a pipelined system would have already lost. This end-to-end design is also what makes such low response latency possible, since there is no handoff overhead between separate systems. This single network architecture is the specialized technical shift that earned GPT-4o its Omni name. Inputs and outputs. Inputs: any combination the model accepts directly. Outputs: any combination the model can generate directly. Pipeline and end-to-end conceptually. The old approach chained models together; the Omni approach uses one. A simplified real-time audio request. Audio goes in and comes out through the same model without an intermediate transcript. History: OpenAI announced GPT-4o on May 13, 2024, with the O standing for Omni. Before GPT-4o, ChatGPT's voice mode relied on a pipeline of three separate models, with average latencies of 2.8 to 5.4 seconds. GPT-4o was trained end-to-end across text, vision, and audio, becoming OpenAI's first model to combine all three modalities in a single network. The model could respond to audio input in as little as 232 milliseconds, with OpenAI noting this was close to natural human response time. Real-time voice and vision capabilities continued to expand in the months following launch, extending into camera-based and screen-sharing interactions. Why Omni matters? Fast response latencies dropped from seconds to roughly the pace of natural conversation. Nuanced tone, emotion, and background sound are preserved instead of lost in transcription. Unified: one model handles text, vision, and audio instead of several stitched together systems. Expressive: generated speech can carry emotion, style, and even singing. Interruptible: real-time responsiveness supports a genuinely natural back and forth. Efficient: runs faster and more cheaply than the models it replaced, while matching or beating their performance. The latency reduction: collapsing a three-model pipeline into one network is what allowed GPT-4o's dramatic drop in response time. Every handoff between separate models in a pipeline adds processing and communication delay. A single end-to-end network removes those handoffs, letting response time approach real conversational pace. Never assume low latency alone made this possible. End-to-end training also let the model directly learn from audio nows a pipeline would have discarded. Omni response lifecycle. Any modality in input, one model processes it, single network generate the response reason, any modality output. Any modality is accepted as input, processed by a single network, reasoned about directly, and returned as a response in any modality. Getting started with Omni. This leads us to the three steps that get a real-time conversation going. Open voice mode. Tap the voice icon to begin in real-time conversation. Choose an input, speak, type, or share your camera or screen. Have a conversation, interrupt, redirect, or ask follow naturally. Basic workflow. Listening, reasoning, and responding. Some call listen, reason, and respond Omni models everyday loop. Audio, text, and images can be combined freely within the same real-time conversation. Because everything runs through one model, responses can reference tone and visuals directly, not just transcribe the text. Real-time interruption means the model can adjust mid-response as the conversation shifts. Expressive speech output lets responses carry emotion and style appropriate to the moment. Supports many workflows, live conversation, tutoring, accessibility tools, and hands-free assistance. Work the same across the app's voice mode, vision features, and API integrations. Any questions? Thank you.